Well, I'm Joyce. I'm a visual artist. I've graduated from HKU in Utrecht in 2012 already. And I'm working now as an independent visual artist for 12 and a half years, actually. My work mainly revolves around subjects like emancipation, feminism, because I grew up in the part of the Dutch Bible Belt. It's a religious area where, like, from my childhood on, it was clear that not everyone will be treated equal over there. If you're a woman or if you're gay or a person of color, you're going to have a harder time than if you're a white, straight man. Basically, women were not supposed to play football. Boys were not supposed to go to like gymnastics or take gymnastics classes because it was considered to be a women's sport, which I find is to be really weird. Because why would I not be able to play football, right? I've always wondered why that was. Because if we're all human, what does it matter? Because of my feeling of righteousness, I wanted to do something with that and also basically shed a light on inequality in the Netherlands and in a broader sense also the world. So that's why I started making art about those subjects. And I prefer to use textiles because it was it was seen often as women's hobbies to work with textiles, but which I find really strange because it has a really rich history within the arts, but also crafts. And if anything can be art, why not? Why can a textile work not be art? I like the combination of art and politics actually, even though they're very different subjects, because with art you can make something really impactful. And I think it's important that art actually has like some content and it's not about just something being pretty. And I like the combination of like pretty images and harsh subjects that you can still like create awareness about political situations through art to shed a light on some cases or subjects that people might have forgotten about. It was September 2022, uh, and I saw pictures of the situation in Ter Apel on the news, that people had to sleep outside for multiple weeks. The Red Cross got involved, and even a baby died in October of 23, and I thought that was horrific. So I figured I want to do something with that. Uh, to also spread my own opinion about how ridiculous I find that we can solve this problem as a nation. I wanted to use personal materials of other people to show the humanity. So that's why I decided to use buttons. They function like pixels on a screen. Like when you're standing far away, you'll see an image, the image of Ter Apel, people sleeping underneath plastic tarps outside. And so I wanted to create the kind of shock when people discover that these people on the tapestry are actually in a refugee camp, so to say, in the Netherlands. I've decided to make another button tapestry on Mark Rutte, as his political party, the VVD, decided to let the cabinet fall over the asylum crisis instead of solving it. And in the image, you see him leaving politics for good, because after that he quit as a prime minister and politician in the Netherlands. Summary of this work, I made it 2.5 years ago as a bit of a warning sign, like, look, the far right is growing in numbers in the Netherlands. Right-wing extremism is growing in numbers, and ever since it only has gotten worse. Internationally as well, with Orban, let's say in the EU, France took a turn to the right, Germany, England, and now the pinnacle of it all, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I've always been fascinated by the way Trump uses the media to spread his own political views, but also blames the media for everything. And the way he was whining about Hillary Clinton. And so the first images of the For Trump portraits that I used from the media were basically Trump complaining about these things. And the only things I added were tears and drops of sweat. So, and then all of a sudden it looks like he's actually crying or suffering, which I found to be really funny. So I made 4 of them. About the mugshot, I think it is crazy that he is the first president to be arrested, or like former president back then to be arrested, and how he still manages to dodge all these claims and fines as if nothing ever happened. To me, Trump, the entire situation surrounding Trump is like a car crash that you can't look away, but you don't want to be a witness to it, but still you have to look. Yeah. And it's an interesting time to be alive, let's put it like that. But still, like, life would be less complicated if politicians would not mess things up that much. When something bad happens, and especially in the US, people say, oh, thoughts and prayers for you, but it doesn't help. And especially when there's violence occurring, like shootings, anything like that, people will send their thoughts and prayers instead of changing legislation to actually prevent new shootings from happening, or police violence, political violence. It's just thoughts and prayers, so it's like a hollow shell. I want to make more war flags, because I know especially I want to update the Syrian one, because now Syria uses a different flag, and this is the old flag as used by the regime. I've always been interested in subjects like women's rights, and I found it to be really important to speak to people in Iran, especially women who have suffered a lot. I find the Iranian women to be really brave in their fight for equality, because compared to the Netherlands, it's it's a very tough situation. You can't compare the situation in Iran to the Netherlands because the government over there is really oppressive. For the works Birthday and Pizza, I used photos I got from my Iranian friends. And when you look at it at first glance, you don't really notice anything wrong or weird with it or something that stands out. But these pictures cannot be shown publicly in Iran because the women on it do not comply to the clothing regulations. And they don't wear the hijab. They sometimes don't have their arms covered, or they show some cleavage and it's not allowed. And I was thinking these stories are still really important to tell, but you cannot show them as pictures, which they originally were. So I decided to transform them into tapestries, making the people on it anonymous. And through that method, you can still share the stories that were captured in those photographs. I figured that I wanted to use this quote from the feminist movement, men of quality do not fear equality, on a banner, like the banners that I'm used to seeing in my old town. And we took it to the streets. There were always multiple people involved, other artists, also to translate. And basically we just spoke to a variety of people, anyone that was interested. We would explain about the project and also ask if they wanted to take a picture. I honestly think if we start recognizing, let's say, women as being human beings and actual people, a lot of these problems would be solved. There's no scientific evidence in that women cannot lead a company or would be worse than when a man would lead a company. It's like a lot of like how we were programmed from our childhood on. It's conditioning instead of genetics. And I also think because the way society has talked about women throughout the ages is not necessarily a nice thing. I think every woman in her life has heard remarks like, oh, it's just a joke, you can't say anything anymore these days, don't look so angry, don't cry about it, remarks like that. And I wanted to do something with that, but I didn't want to take, the angry route. I wanted to take the humorous route. So I figured that it would be fun to combine these quotes with the looks of like old school grandma's embroidery with the pixelated rose, and to make it more kitsch by making it out of beads with little tassels on the bottom. And thereby also like ridiculizing those sentences a bit. Because like one of the sentences I hear a lot myself is, you're pretty technical for a woman. And I'm like, why? I went to art school for 5 bloody years in total. Of course I can, make technical stuff. So, and people just assume that you can't do things because you're a woman, like being like technical, or that you're not allowed to behave in certain ways, like to just have like a neutral face, but that you have to smile all the time and be kind of polite towards the people around you. Because it's never women who say these things to each other. It's 9 out of 10 times it's the men who say them. If I look at like the current popularity of my work, something at least is going on, but also it feels a bit like wrong to I would personally not claim that I'm like leading a movement. I would more think about it as that I'm contributing to a broader movement, because it's not just me. A lot of women are speaking up and taking action. I hope I will have some impact like at the end of my career, like in total, but I think it's hard to measure. My goal, I think as long as there is not like radical equality for everyone, I still have subjects to make art about. And I think I have achieved some things, but like I said, it's tough to measure. I mean, I don't have like a new legislation on my name. But I think you can also make changes on a smaller scale, like conversations with people. And I find it to be really important to listen to each other and then have an open conversation about our differences and similarities. And I do believe that with art, you can make changes. I've seen that people will start talking about these subjects and also start thinking about them, because sometimes people are not aware of all the things that are like happening around them. And I think that's also already a nice achievement, that you can at least spread some awareness. I always say to people, you don't have to agree with me. That's up to you. But I would like to share my perspective on things and then talk about it.